Have you ever wondered why certain people cross your path at the exact moment they do? Why a stranger's smile lingers in your memory, or a conversation with someone you barely know feels strangely significant? Deep down, you can sense that life is not simply a series of accidents. There are threads being woven together, threads you cannot see, but you can feel, and if you listen closely, you begin to realize that some of those threads are leading you toward the person who will one day hold your heart. C.S. Lewis once said that coincidences are God's way of remaining anonymous. Every meeting, every connection, every brief encounter carries weight. Nothing is wasted. The truth is, the people who walk into your life are never random. They are part of a greater design, a design so intricate that you could never orchestrate it yourself. You may think you are choosing who to talk to, who to notice, who to let into your world, but often it is something far greater than choice. It is destiny whispering in the background. Think about the moments that have shaped your life the most. Were they planned? Rarely. The job you stumbled into, the conversation you never expected, the friend who became like family. These were not the results of careful calculation. They happened in the spaces you least expected. This is how the divine works quietly, invisibly, but undeniably, and when it comes to love, this truth is even more powerful. Meeting the one you are meant to share your life with is not like finding a needle in a haystack. It is not about chance. It is about preparation. It is about timing. It is about being guided towards someone who mirrors not just your interests or your personality, but your very soul. Your soulmate is not just someone who fits into your life. They are someone who awakens a deeper part of you that you didn't even know was sleeping. And that is why recognizing God's hand in these moments matters so much. So many people spend their lives searching endlessly, chasing after love, hoping to find that missing piece. But what if love isn't something you hunt for? What if love is something revealed to you when you are ready? When you stop striving and start trusting? C.S. Lewis believed that the greatest connections are orchestrated, not forced. That the people who are meant to walk with you will appear, not because you planned it, but because God designed it. Imagine for a moment that every setback you've experienced, every heartbreak, every disappointment, was not meant to close your heart, but to open it. That every person who walked away was not a rejection, but a redirection. Life often hurts, and yet, in the pain, something extraordinary happens. You become more awake. You start to see what truly matters, and in that awakening, God often begins to align you with the one who was written into your story, long before you even knew how to look for them. There is a sacred mystery to the way souls connect. At first, it may not even feel dramatic. It may begin quietly, almost unnoticed, but something deep within you knows. You recognize them without understanding why. You feel at peace, and yet strangely alive in their presence. And it's in these moments that you realize you are not the one in control. Something bigger is happening, something holy. This is why it is so important to stay awake to the details of your life. To pay attention to the people who cross your path, the conversations that stir your heart, the encounters that seem small but leave an unshakable mark on your spirit. These are not interruptions. They are signals. They are evidence of a greater plan unfolding, and here is the reward for trusting that process. When you begin to see love not as an accident, but as a divine introduction, your entire perspective changes. You stop rushing, you stop forcing, you stop questioning your worth or your timing. Instead, you live with expectation. You live with faith that God is not withholding, but preparing, and that the right person, the one who will walk with you in both joy and pain, laughter and struggle, is already on their way. Your soulmate is not someone you find by searching tirelessly. They are someone God reveals when the time is right. And that revelation often comes in ways you could never predict. That is the beauty of divine connection. It surprises you, it humbles you, it changes you. And when it arrives, you will know that it could only have been written by the hand of God. So the question is not whether you will meet your soulmate. The question is, will you be awake enough to recognize the moment when God introduces them to you? Because when that moment comes, it will feel less like coincidence and more like destiny finally catching up with you. Sometimes the path to meeting the one who was meant for you is not paved with joy, but with pain. C.S. Lewis believed that pain is God's megaphone, his way of waking us up when we have fallen asleep to our own destiny. And isn't it true? The moments that break you, the heartbreaks that leave you questioning everything, the disappointments that shatter your expectations, these are often the very moments that sharpen your vision. You may not see it when you are in the middle of it, but pain has a way of clearing the fog. It strips away illusions and forces you to confront what really matters. Think about the heartbreaks you've endured. At first, they felt unbearable, as though your world was collapsing. But over time, haven't you noticed how they shaped you, how they made you wiser, stronger, more discerning about the kind of love you deserve? Pain refines. It burns away the shallow desires and prepares your heart for something deeper. Without that refining fire, you might settle for less. You might mistake convenience for connection, or comfort for love. But pain will not let you settle. It pushes you to demand more, not from others, but from yourself. When God allows your heart to break, it is not because He is cruel. It is because He is preparing you. Preparation rarely feels gentle, but it is always purposeful. A shattered heart learns empathy, learns patience, learns resilience. And those qualities are exactly what you need to recognize and nurture the love that comes from Him. Without the breaking, you might not be able to hold the blessing. It's easy to look at pain as punishment, to wonder why you had to lose, why you had to suffer, why you had to feel the sting of rejection or betrayal. But what if rejection was actually redirection? What if the heartbreak you thought would destroy you was the very thing that positioned you to meet the one person who was truly meant for you? Sometimes the greatest gifts are disguised as loss. Sometimes the door that closes is the one that keeps you from walking into a life that was never meant for you. There is a strange beauty in realizing that the very things you thought were ending you were actually shaping you. Every sleepless night, every tear, every unanswered prayer was part of a greater design. You were being molded. You were being taught how to love in a way that is selfless, enduring, and true, because real love is not fragile. It doesn't run at the first sign of struggle. It doesn't collapse under pressure. Real love is forged in the fire of pain, and that fire makes you ready for it. Think of it this way. When you are comfortable, you rarely grow. Comfort makes you settle, but pain pushes you forward. Pain forces you to change, and in that change, something incredible happens. You begin to see with new eyes. You begin to notice people you may have overlooked before. You begin to value qualities that truly matter. You stop chasing after superficial connections and start craving something lasting, something eternal. And that shift is often the very moment when God places your soulmate in your path. The irony is that many people meet their greatest love right after their greatest pain. It almost feels unfair. How can something so good come from something so broken? But that is how divine timing works. What feels like an ending is often a beginning in disguise. And when you are finally ready, when your heart has been softened and awakened by pain, you are able to receive a love that you could not have recognized before. This is why you cannot despise your pain. You cannot wish it away as though it was meaningless. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every wound has been shaping you into the person who can love deeply and receive deeply. Pain is not your enemy, it is your teacher. It is the bridge that takes you from who you were to who you must become in order to walk into the love God has prepared for you. And when you finally meet the one who is meant for you, you will understand. You will see why it had to hurt, why it had to end, why it had to break. Because without those moments, you would not be standing where you are. Without those scars, you would not be ready to recognize the love that feels different from anything you've known. So if your heart is aching right now, take courage. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. The breaking is not the end of your story, it is the shaping of your story. And one day, when you hold the hand of the one God designed for you, you will see it all clearly. The pain was the path, the tears were the watering of the soil, and from that soil, love grew stronger, purer, and more lasting than anything you could have imagined. Because the truth is this: pain does not close the door to love. It opens it. It makes you ready to meet the one who was always written for you, and when that moment comes, it will not feel like a coincidence. It will feel like the answer to every broken piece finally finding its place. If pain prepares the heart, then friendship often opens the door. C.S. Lewis believed that some of the most powerful connections in life begin not with passion, but with companionship. He wrote that friendship is born at the moment when one person looks at another and says, "You too, I thought I was the only one." That moment of recognition, that spark of shared truth, is where something extraordinary begins. Love does not always announce itself with fireworks. Sometimes it enters quietly, disguised as trust, laughter, and the simple joy of being understood. You may not realize it in the beginning, but the person who feels like a safe place, the one who sees you without judgment, may be the one God has been weaving into your life all along. Friendship is the soil where lasting love takes root, because it is not built on appearances or fleeting desire. It is built on something far deeper understanding. Think about the power of being fully seen by someone. No mask, no pretense, no performance, just you, your flaws, your dreams, your fears, your laughter, your silence. When someone accepts you as you are and still chooses to walk beside you, that is no small thing. It is a sacred gift. And it is often through this steady, unshakable companionship that God introduces the one who will change everything. The world tells you that love is all about sparks and intensity, but sparks fade. True connection, the kind that endures, is built on a foundation of friendship. Passion may ignite, but friendship sustains. Friendship carries you through storms, holds you up when you fall, and gives you strength when you cannot find it in yourself. And isn't that what a soulmate is? Not just someone who excites you, but someone who stands with you through every season of life. When you look back, you may realize that the love of your life didn't begin with a grand entrance. It began with simple conversations, with laughter over small things, with the quiet comfort of their presence. It began when you weren't even looking for it, because friendship has a way of sneaking past your defenses. It doesn't demand attention, it earns trust, and over time, that trust deepens into something unshakable. So many people miss this because they are searching for drama, for intensity, for a love that looks like a movie. But the truth is, the strongest loves rarely look that way. They are born in the quiet moments, the ones no one else sees. They are forged in late night talks, in shared struggles, in the steady rhythm of simply being there for each other. That is the kind of bond that can withstand time, distance, and hardship. And here is the beauty. When love grows out of friendship, it is not fragile. It does not crumble when the honeymoon phase fades, because it was never built on infatuation. It was built on something eternal, the recognition of souls that belong together. Friendship allows love to grow slowly, naturally, without pressure. And when it finally blossoms, it feels undeniable, as though it had been there all along, waiting for you to notice. You may already know someone like this, someone whose presence feels effortless, who makes you feel lighter, who understands you without you having to explain. Pay attention to those connections, because they are rarely accidental. God often hides His greatest gifts in the ordinary. The person who laughs with you today may be the same one who will hold your hand tomorrow through life's greatest storms. There is something sacred about friendship turning into love, because it mirrors the way God loves us. His love is not rushed or shallow. It is patient, steady, unwavering. He doesn't fall for us, He walks with us. And that is what your soulmate will do. They will not simply fall into your life. They will walk into it, step by step, moment by moment, building something real and unbreakable with you. The reward of this path is peace. Not the kind of peace that is empty or dull, but the kind that feels like home. The kind that reminds you that you are not alone, that someone sees you, values you, and chooses you again and again. That is the fruit of love born from friendship. It is not rushed. It is not forced. It grows at its own pace, and when it reaches its fullness, it is stronger than anything you could have imagined. So do not overlook the friendships in your life. Do not dismiss the quiet, steady presence of someone who feels like home, because often that is exactly how God introduces you to the one He created for you, not with thunder, but with a whisper, not with sparks, but with a steady flame that will never go out. What begins in friendship often awakens something even greater desire. Not the shallow desire that fades with time, but a deeper pull, one that C.S. Lewis believed was a reflection of eternity itself. Our longings, he said, are not random. They are echoes of something beyond this world, hints of the home we were created for. And when God leads you to your soulmate, that desire is unlike anything else. It is not simply about attraction. It is about alignment, your heart, and theirs moving in rhythm toward the same purpose. This kind of desire feels different. It does not consume you in chaos. It grounds you in clarity. It does not leave you restless. It awakens peace, even as it stirs passion. It is the quiet but powerful realization that this person is not only someone you want, but someone who brings you closer to the person you are meant to become. That is the mark of divine connection desire that refines rather than destroys. Many confuse desire with need, but they are not the same. Need clings out of fear, desperation, or emptiness. Divine desire does not come from lack, it comes from fullness. It comes when you are whole, and God brings another whole soul beside you, not to complete you, but to walk with you. And when those two desires meet, something eternal begins to unfold. Think of the power of purpose-driven desire. When you meet someone who shares not just your interests, but your vision, your faith, your calling, it feels like everything falls into place. You are no longer running alone. You are running together. Their presence doesn't just make life sweeter, it makes your purpose clearer. Suddenly, your dreams align, your values match, your steps move in sync. That alignment is not coincidence. It is a sign that God has written your stories to meet. And here is what makes it so powerful. This kind of desire does not pull you away from God. It pulls you closer to Him. It does not distract you from your calling. It strengthens it. It is love that elevates, love that refines, love that feels sacred. You know it because it doesn't just make your heart race, it makes your spirit rise. C.S. Lewis believed that our deepest desires are whispers of heaven, that the longing we feel on earth is really a sign that we were made for more. So when God places someone in your life whose presence awakens those holy longings, you are not just experiencing romance, you are experiencing a glimpse of eternity. A love that points you beyond yourself, beyond this world, into something infinite. But this is where many falter. They chase the thrill, the temporary spark, and call it love. But if desire leads you away from your best self, it is not divine. If it leaves you anxious, insecure, or empty, it is not the desire Lewis spoke of. Divine desire always uplifts. It makes you braver. It makes you kinder. It calls you higher. It transforms you into someone capable of giving more than you thought you had to give. When you find the one God intended for you, desire does not weaken your foundation, it strengthens it. You begin to see that this person is not just part of your life. They are woven into your mission. You are no longer two stories colliding, but one story unfolding together. And that realization fills you with gratitude, because you understand that love is not just about finding happiness, it is about fulfilling purpose. The reward of this kind of desire is lasting fulfillment. Not the fleeting high of attraction, but the steady fire of passion joined with peace. It is the recognition that you are exactly where you are meant to be, with exactly the person God intended. And when you live from that place, your love becomes unshakable. It is not tossed around by circumstances, because it was never built on circumstances. It was built on destiny. You may have felt glimpses of this before, in fleeting connections or passing encounters. But the true thing, the one written for you, will be undeniable. It will not feel forced. It will not feel rushed. It will feel like alignment, like two notes joining together to create harmony, like two paths merging into one road that leads to something greater than either of you could have imagined alone. And that is the true beauty of desire when it comes from God. It is not a craving that drains you, but a fire that sustains you. It is not about possession, but about partnership. It is not about filling emptiness, but about multiplying abundance. It is a desire that mirrors eternity itself, deep, unending, and full of purpose. So if your heart longs for love, do not be ashamed of that longing. Do not bury it or dismiss it as weakness. That longing is not weakness, it is a signal. It is the fingerprint of eternity written into your soul. And one day, when God introduces you to the one He has prepared for you, that longing will finally make sense. It will no longer feel like searching. It will feel like finding home. What matters most is not simply whether your soulmate exists, but whether you are prepared to recognize them when they appear. Too often, people are blinded not because love isn't there, but because their hearts are not awake enough to see it. The truth is, God's introductions rarely look the way we expect. They don't always arrive with grand gestures or dramatic timing. Sometimes they come quietly, hidden in the ordinary moments of your life. And if you are not paying attention, you might miss what you have been praying for all along. Becoming the person who can recognize divine love is not about striving harder. It is about allowing yourself to be shaped. Every disappointment, every friendship, every longing has been carving your heart, molding you into someone capable of seeing with more than your eyes, because your eyes might be drawn to charm, to appearance, to surface-level attraction. But your spirit, when it is awake, recognizes alignment, purpose, truth. It knows the difference between a distraction and a destiny. That is why your focus should never be on chasing love, but on becoming love. When you grow into the fullness of who God created you to be, you carry a light that attracts the right kind of soul. not the ones who are impressed by your surface, but the ones who are drawn to your essence. When you live with purpose, the right person recognizes it. They don't just admire you, they connect with you because your paths were designed to meet. Think about the power of being ready. If God placed your soulmate in your life tomorrow, would you recognize them? Or would your eyes still be fixed on the wrong things, on appearances, on status, on fleeting sparks? Preparation is not punishment, it is protection. It ensures that when love finally comes, you don't sabotage it with old wounds, insecurities, or misplaced priorities. Readiness is the shield that keeps you from mistaking counterfeit connections for the real thing. When love comes from God, it feels different. It doesn't leave you guessing whether you are enough. It doesn't make you compromise your values or abandon your purpose. It doesn't confuse you or exhaust you. Instead, it strengthens you. It brings clarity. It calls you higher. That's why the best way to prepare for your soulmate is to live as if they are already on their way. To carry yourself with the dignity, faith, and courage of someone who knows they are worth the wait. This is not about perfection. It's about alignment. God doesn't introduce you to your soulmate because you've become flawless. He introduces you when you've become awake, when you've grown enough to recognize that true love is not about taking, but about giving. Not about possession, but about partnership. Not about filling a void, but about walking in purpose together. And when that introduction happens, it will feel like confirmation. Not because everything will be easy, but because everything will feel true. You will know because their presence will bring out your best self, not your worst. You will know because loving them will not feel like losing yourself, but like finding the truest version of yourself. That is the kind of love that cannot be faked, cannot be forced, cannot be fabricated. It is divine, and when it appears, it changes everything. But you must be willing to trust the timing. So many people settle because they fear waiting. They confuse loneliness with incompleteness. But waiting is not a punishment, it is part of the preparation. Every season of waiting is strengthening your vision, sharpening your discernment, and shaping your heart so that when your soulmate stands before you, you won't just see them, you will recognize them. Do not underestimate the power of recognition. Two people can meet 1,000 times and never notice each other. But when the heart is ready, one moment is enough. Suddenly, what was invisible becomes undeniable. What felt ordinary becomes extraordinary. That is the miracle of God's introductions. They happen not when you are searching the hardest, but when you are finally ready to see. So walk with faith. Live with expectation. Trust that every heartbreak was shaping you, every friendship was preparing you, every longing was guiding you. Nothing has been wasted. The threads of your story have been carefully woven, and one day they will intersect with another story in a way that will make sense of everything. The love you are waiting for is not behind you. It is ahead of you, being prepared even now. And when the time is right, when your heart is awake, when your spirit is aligned, God Himself will make the introduction. And in that moment, you will realize that every step, every tear, every delay was worth it. Because nothing compares to the beauty of meeting the one who was always written into your story.